Hello, greetings. I am Gilles Mansillon. I come back to read the continuation of my book. It's called Beyond the Veils of Illusion. It is a rough translation. It will be refined by the time it gets into print, but I wanted to make this information freely available to those who are interested in those understandings and ideas. Chapter 6. I thought it would be interesting at this point to include a part of my space log. Although I am able to keep most of my experience within my memory bank, and I know that no experience is ever lost because they are all recorded within our DNA, I used to keep a journal and to take note of each expedition to keep a written record of such adventures. I will only present here one of those space logs in order not to make this presentation encyclopedic, but it is possible that later on I might present a more detailed expose that will treat upon and give more detail on the collective experience of the participant in such interdimensional and interplanetary journeys. Even if I spend most of my time to travel by myself in diverse dimensions of the Earth in order to help with the transformation we are moving through right now, and in order to provide a subtle and to produce a subtle influence on diverse situations, I still happen to travel sometime to more distant location, to more ethereal plane, in order to regenerate my energy in those special places I have come to know and to love. And so I will then present here a part of my space log relating to a trip that I took around the end of the last millennium. It is a trip to the planet Venus that I've chosen to speak about because it is a planet that is very close to us in the direction of the Sun, but it is also a planet that we only know very superficially. Although my knowledge has greatly evolved since that time, I have chosen to present this story as I had experienced it at that time, and not to add any information beyond the note I had taken. I hope you will find this interesting. Boulder, Colorado, October 22nd, 1998, 8:30 p.m. We were 3 people that day, and we had made a collective decision to undertake such an interdimensional trip to the planet Venus for exploration. One of my friends who was present that day had done this previously with me, and the other was new to this process. We sat and began the visualization of the vessel, and then we teleported towards our destination. All went well, and I felt that both of my friends were in good disposition. They both followed the flow of energy, and that they had both arrived to our destination. The first thing I saw, or the first vision I had, was that of the planet itself, viewed from a high orbit. Then I felt that I had landed or arrived, found myself sitting in a huge space that would be described as a busy spaceport or the waiting room of a cosmodrome. This space was vast and full of activity and bright light, but all those activities were somewhat beyond my ability to see what was truly taking place. I immediately received the feeling that I had to apply and register our arrival in order to enter into that dimensional plane. This formality took only about 15 seconds, and I remember to have formulated in my mind the desire that, if possible, my companions and myself may encounter and be received by guides from that dimension. I then sensed that the permission had been given and that my request had been approved, and so that we were granted access to the planet. Then I began my journey, and I was led into the inner plane of the planet, where most of the activities of this world are taking place. From within that dimension, I just landed, I could see clearly the whole of the inner plane of the planet that was completely filled with particularized energy zone which had very distinct color and shape. An idea then came to my mind that the huge central space that was an intense dark blue color, and that was formed in the shape of an egg timer, must be the space that was reserved for the administration of the planet. That particular space had the property of appearing stable and unchanging, void of interaction with any other planes. I could observe from that location numerous spaces that were all made of distinct forms and colors. I could see all of the inner planes, and my attention was attracted to a space that was a light blue, bright light blue that was particularly brilliant and vibrant. That vision was truly beautiful, even if we could not penetrate any of the spaces I was looking at. Maybe my desire was about to stay here and observe those energy exchanges, as I felt very comfortable to do so. And so I remained there a few minutes, feeling a deep sense of fascination in the observation of the energy exchange between those spaces, even if I could not comprehend the nature or function of those activities that were happening before my eyes. I then met someone who came to greet me in the most discreet way, and I understood that I was meant to follow that person who was going to be my guide during this short sojourn in that dimension. She moved towards some sort of elevator that opened up from where we were on the inner plane of the planet, and that led us directly onto a platform above the clouds in the higher layer of the atmosphere. I followed her. We were now above the clouds, covering layer of the planet that looked very dense below us, but from that platform I could see and experience that the air and the space was very clear around and above us. I knew that my guide was a woman, or to be more exact, a feminine entity, but I could see that she was very beautiful, very attractive, although I could not see her face or even her physical appearance. The only thing I could see for sure is that she was taller than I was in terms of physical form. When we moved together on the platform, she guided me to a small vessel that was waiting there. That ship must have been about 10 meters long, but was not made of the same matter as the one we know on the Earth. It was lighter, faster, brighter than what we know as conventional matter. And the platform was also made of this higher dimensional frequency, which would be invisible in the third dimension. We then entered into the ship through a small door on the right side of the vessel and then took off. The ship was small but felt very fast and easily maneuverable. There was a large screen in front of me and two smaller screens on both sides. I knew that my guide was here on my right as she was piloting the ship, but I still could not see her physical appearance. In just a few minutes, she had taken us back into the Earth's atmosphere, and during our descent towards the surface, I could observe through the central screen the ground below us getting ever closer with a great deal of accuracy and precision in terms of topography. That vision was quite magnificent, and was amplified by the two smaller screens on each side that allowed me to see with even more precision the place we were approaching at high speed on the Earth's surface. She pointed me to a precise point on the eastern coastal region of Canada. I then realized how comfortable this vessel was and how enjoyable it was to be traveling that way. I could see the place she wanted to show me coming ever closer. The definition of those screens I was looking into was truly extraordinary, and I realized that they had a zoom-in power that I could control with my mind or command directly from my thoughts. And through those two little screens on both sides. It was as if I could perceive from three different angles that point on the eastern coast of the Northern American continent that was approaching faster and faster. That vision was unforgettable but difficult, not to say impossible, to describe in words. She did not communicate the reason why she wanted me to see that particular point or place, but I felt she had a very good reason for taking us back to that location. I have now a few theories on the nature of that place and its significance for me, but at the time I had no idea why she had chosen to bring us back to that specific location. I am sure that when the time comes, I will be able to verify the validity of my belief in terms of the nature of that place, and although there is a few possibility that I am still entertaining in my mind in regard to that center, that place, I am confident that I will be able to verify this in due time, either through another energetic trip such as this, or by going there in a physical form in order to validate my intuition in regard to that particular location. So we approached that place on the Earth to a point where we almost reach where we reach about 100 meters. Then the vessel shifted and we began rapidly to ascend into the Earth's atmosphere. I then felt a sense of acceleration, and that continued for one or 2 minutes, and the next thing I saw was the planet Saturn. We then slowed down and made a very slow survey of the planet over the ring system. That gave me the time to contemplate and admire this magnificent planet, and then we left and went on another acceleration. Although I could feel that we were traveling extremely fast through space in relation to Earth standard, the effect of gravity and the pressure of acceleration was not at all oppressive or uncomfortable. It is always difficult to determine precisely the relation to linear time when we are in a higher dimension. I would say about 2 or 3 minutes of traveling through space before we could see through a small window located on my left side 2 bright lights that appeared far away, but which were coming in our direction at great speed and getting closer to us with each passing second. I then realized by observing those lights that we must have reached the outer border of our solar system, and we were approaching the next door neighboring system of Alpha Centauri. I immediately and intuitively understood that the light that were coming towards us was most likely the patrolling interdimensional ship that bordered the patrol of that system, the border of that system. We kept moving forward without modifying our speed, almost to the point to be intercepted and met those ships. I felt our ship turning around promptly as we became closer to reaching them. I felt our ship turning around promptly, and we made a U-turn. And then I heard my guide telling me telepathically in English, "The place you like." She knew that I always had an affective attraction to the system of Alpha Centauri. I then felt her friendly smile, although I still could not see her face, and then I knew that we were returning at high speed in the space of our own solar system. I could then perceive from the corner of my eyes the two border patrol ships from Alpha Centauri making a U-turn and moving reciprocally back into the space of their own system. The trip back took only a few minutes, and then we found ourselves landing on the platform we departed from a little while ago. I felt our vessel landing gently on the platform and found myself back into the waiting room of the Cosmodrome when I first arrived. I then sent a warm message of gratitude to my guide. In realizing I was back at my starting point, I felt it was the time for me to get my group and return to the Earth. I then sent a telepathic message to both of my friends who had made that journey with me, and 2 minutes later we were all back in our physical body in Colorado. After a few minutes of relaxation, so that everyone may find the time to reintegrate their body and settle back into their Earth plane consciousness, I asked both of my friends to share their experience. The first one whom I had taken the first one for whom it was the first time doing this seemed to be shy about what she had about her experience, but she said that she had a good time but did not wish to share her experience. The other, whom had done this with me in the past, felt more comfortable and told us that she had met a masculine entity who was very friendly and fun, and that entity had a very long neck. She went on and explained that she spent much time dancing inside the deep sounds and color with that person. When she was describing this experience, I had a vision and saw the smile and friendly face of that entity, who had a skin that was a bright, deep violet blue color. His physical appearance became then visible to me, and had a very different form than a human, and that form was so very different than our human form, but extremely friendly and joyful. A few days later, my friend received the inspiration to create a series of watercolor that was representing people dancing in very warm and comfortable spaces. Painting which is, I assume, were inspired by that particular interdimensional experience. I then explained briefly my own experience and concluded that as far as I was concerned, that trip was, as usual, a very unique experience. I hope and trust that I will have the opportunity to see that friendly guide again and travel with a friendly guide I traveled with and who made me discover such interesting things, as well as to return to the planet Venus to deepen my connection to that enlightened civilization. I later found out that there was a direct portal to the planet Venus, which is the Mount Shasta in California. End of chapter 5. Thank you.